Are you okay with me recording this meeting?
Yes.
So the first question I want to ask is if you could describe your job and where you work.
Yeah. So I am the senior team reporter of the San Francisco 49ers. So a little bit about my job in the simplest terms is that I'm the direct liaison between what's going on inside the organization to the fans. So whether that's through written content, video content, live in stadium content, my job is to package up messaging and make sure that I'm distributing it correctly and validly to the fan base.
How long have you been working in this field?
So I have been working in this field, I would say about 6 to 7 years.
Wow.
It began after I graduated college. I started working internships here and there just to build my reel. And then from there, it started turning into another internship to another internship. I ended up interning for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that turned into a part time position. From there, I moved on to the Denver Nuggets, received a full time position there as their in arena reporter and associate producer. And I spent a year there. And then finally came here about 4 years ago as a full-time employee with the San Francisco 49ers as their team reporter. And about 2 years, a year ago, I was promoted to senior team reporter. So 4 years with the 49ers and probably about a good 7 to 8 years total.
So you started in sports journalism, like right out of college?
So here's the tricky thing. So I went to college for integrated marketing communication.
Oh, wow.
And I knew that I wanted to do sports marketing. But once I kind of got to my senior year, I was like, I think I want to try being in front of the camera. Like I love talking about sports. I love both sides. I love the marketing side and I love actually, talking and being involved in it. So I said, I want to try it out. So that's probably the biggest setback for me was not going to school for broadcast journalism. So I feel like it was on myself to be able to find those internships and gain experience that I wasn't able to get in school. So basically right out the bat, my first job wasn't like I got paid all this money. Like I worked for free for many, many years. But I kind of invested in myself and found some internships just to kind of learn the craft and perfect the product. So that's kind of like the long story to how I jumped into the field.
I know we kind of covered this already, but if you could go a little more into depth on how you got started, what was it that really got you into the world of sports journalism?
Yeah. So going even before college, before I even knew that it was a possibility for me to even have a role like this, I was just raised in a household that was just sports centered. My family, like our family nights were like we'd have dinner and then we'd watch Sunday night football together. That's
Yep.
just what we did. So I was just raised watching sports and loving sports. And so that's why when I went into school, originally you talk about changing majors, I changed mine because I went into school originally to go to study kinesiology because I wanted to be an athletic trainer. And so then after seeing my class load, my workload, I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do this. So that's when I switched over to marketing, specifically sports marketing,
Mhm.
because I figured that might be a little more along the lines of what I wanted to do. But then I guess, and it's just like you watch so many reporters, and then I'll say female reporters
Yeah.
growing up, and I'm just like, wow, I never really even thought if this would be an option for me as a
Yeah.
career. And so I kind of took a chance on myself, and that's when I started working. I think one of the first jobs I had or internships. Cal Berkeley had their football team. There's a stadium or there's a radio station called KDOL in Oakland. It's a
Mhm.
small radio station, Oakland Unified School District radio station, and they covered college football games and covered Berkeley games. So at this time of my life, I was living in LA.
Oh, wow.
I would jump on a plane every home game and fly into Oakland, get a rental car, drive to Berkeley, cover the game, drive back to the airport, and fly back home. And I would do this all in a day
Oh
just so
my
I could get
gosh.
the experience. Yeah, I would do it just to get
Oh my
experience because
gosh.
I was that passionate about doing this.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the things I did just to get experience and get footage on my reel. And I was not paid for this. I did all of this out of my own pocket,
Oh
and
my
it's just
gosh.
the investment that you take if this is something that you really want to do. And I mean,
Yeah.
looking back, I'm like, that essentially set me up for where I am now. It paid off in a sense that, I had to invest in myself and I had to do all of this extra work, but to get to where I want to be. So that's just one of the small jobs that I had. I worked for a small station, a Torrance City Cable, in Southern California. I've done like little things here and there, but just
Yeah.
continuing to build my reel, and also writing is a big thing. I was never the greatest writer in school, but I knew if this is something I wanted to do, I had to learn to become a better writer.
Yeah.
So practicing that, and starting my own sports blog where I could write about what's going on just to give myself practice. And a lot of jobs they applauded that. They were really happy that, I was taking the initiative to do things on my own,
Yeah.
to try to get better at this job.
So my next question is, what's the most challenging thing about your job?
I think the most challenging thing is what we just discussed. People wanting to doubt you or write you off because you are a woman in this role,
Yeah.
which I feel like is more pressure, but I welcome the pressure. That's fine, because I want to make sure that I am proving people and doubters wrong. And then I'm also changing that narrative for women who want jobs like this. I want to make sure that people understand that we are more than qualified and capable of holding the same positions that men might have, with similar roles. I think that's just one of the challenges, is overcoming the, it's not necessarily like a negativity, but just overcoming the, how do I want to say that, just the doubt.
Like the status quo that people have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, um that come along with my role.
That I would want to ask is, what's the most rewarding thing about your job?
Ooh, okay. Most rewarding thing. Um, well, I'll say conversations like this, especially with women, are one of the most rewarding things. Prior to COVID, we used to be
Yeah.
able to have different events with like women and women who had interest in sports to just come and chat with different women around the organization. Like, we're very grateful to have, a female coach, the first, female head coach, one of the
Yeah.
first full-time female scouts, one of the first female athletic trainers, full-time athletic trainers in the league. There's so many firsts here, and beyond that, there's just so many women in this organization who are so important to the success of, not just, the business side of things, but physically the team and the guys on the field. So I really enjoy being able to talk to different women who can see that there's so many different roles you can have, and just because it's a male dominated sports, male dominated industry, doesn't mean that you can't, find your place in it. So that is one of the things that I find is extremely rewarding. And another thing I will say is being able to tell the stories of some of these guys on the team. This is a much different sport than, basketball or baseball, because these guys have helmets on. They're in pads, they're in helmets. You don't really see much of their face. You don't really get to know them.
No.
And you just, all you see is a number on the back and name. And I believe that my job is to kind of go take behind the helmet, like, who is this person, and kind of give that insight and humanize these guys. They're put on such this like pedestal, and they're, oh my gosh, it's Jimmy Garoppolo, but at the end
Yeah.
of the day, these are just regular guys. They do the exact same thing that we do. Some of them still go to the McDonald's drive-thru and order off the dollar menu. I won't tell you who does that, but they do. So they're just normal guys, and I really like being able to tell their stories, and kind of get to that personal side that people don't typically see when you watch them on TV.
Mm-hmm. Something I do want to ask is, what's your favorite, like, what would probably be like your all-time favorite interview that you've ever done?
Yes, that one is quite easy. My favorite interview ever was with Joe Montana.
Yes.
And the reason why
I'm so happy you said that.
the reason why is because I went into the interview, I was so hesitant because, I mean, just look at the name Joe Montana,
Yeah.
one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. And I was so nervous, like, oh my God, like, I do not want to screw this up. Like, I don't want him to be like, this girl doesn't know what she's doing. And literally, when I met him, it felt like this conversation we're having. It was just like, you're just talking to like a friend. He was the coolest guy, which is why he got the name Joe Cool. But he was one of the coolest guys. And like, I promise, if he said, let's leave this game, let's go to a bar and get a beer, I'd be like, let's go, because he was just so cool. And it was just so great to meet somebody of his, his name, his celebrity, his notoriety, and him be as cool as he was. And so insightful too. Very insightful, but I just really appreciated that.
Okay, so what advice would you give to anyone looking to go into the field professionally?
I feel like I jumped the gun earlier by talking about it, but I'll just go back to it. And
I know we kind of went over it.
Yeah, but no, it's definitely taking advantage of the opportunities. Whether that's an internship, whether it's starting something on your own. I was actually asked by a girl who is 13 years old. She asked me what could she do so she could get a job like mine one day. And I told her the greatest power that she has is in her hand, your phone. We can do so many things with our telephones, or we can create our own videos. Like, people are throwing up their own things on YouTube, starting their own channel. And that's what a lot of people look towards. They look at how you're able to adapt, how you can be creative and do something on your own. And that shows a lot of initiative. So that's another thing outside of, internships and trying things on your own, if it's not with a news station or a newspaper or whatever the case might be. That would be two of my big pieces of advice. And then my third is just always network. Be always willing to network. You never know who you might meet. I can't tell you how many times I was in the room with someone huge and had no idea, because I didn't want to, start conversation, and probably missed out on an opportunity. Who knows? But I definitely think it's great to meet people and follow up on those connections, not just like, oh yeah, I got this person's business card, built that relationship. And also, I would say mentorship is really, really great. Having a mentor, someone that's there to kind of help you and guide you through the process, definitely helpful.
So one thing I'd like to ask is if there's anything else you'd like to add, or just anything you'd like to say. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
I'm trying to see. No, not that I can think of.
I know, I was gonna say we've talked about a lot.
Did, and then I go off on tangents all the time. So
me too.
No, I think that's everything.
All right. Well, honestly, this has been so helpful to me, and I really appreciate you responding to me. Thank you again. And
you are so welcome. And I'll be waiting for you to let me know that you got like an A+++ on this.
Yes. If I have any more questions, can I email you? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just want to double check.
You're so welcome.
Thank you again.
No problem. We'll chat soon.
Yes. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.